Do you yearn for travel that involves outdoor adventure and learning? I do. I also have a passion for all things farming and agriculture. I've traveled to exotic jungles to learn about growing chocolate. I even once owned my own organic vegetable and sunflower farm. And now I'm planning my journey back to agriculture. Agritourism, defined as travel that involves some type of agricultural experience. Agritourism is all about entertaining. But the marketing strategist in me knows that, at its core, agritourism is really about educating, and education affects change. My future farm needs to deliver a profound experience to all of its visitors. It needs to educate people about food, health, and climate. Join me to learn from experienced agritourism farmers and entrepreneurs and help me build my future farm strategy. And who knows, maybe one day soon you'll find yourself in a tropical jungle cutting open cacao pods with a machete, or savoring an outdoor plant-to-plate community dinner with 100 guests at a farm in Illinois. So let's tap into the agritourist in you. Today's conversation is with an old friend, someone who's been with me since my days in corporate America, has known my kids since they were really, really young, and someone who has been an active agritourist with me along my journey. His formal name is Thomas Chandler Werbe III, but I call him Tim. Tim and I were recently reflecting and reminiscing about many of our adventures together, many of which have been focused on agriculture and farming. Actually, I was in awe as we chatted up a storm about all that we have done and explored over the past 20 years. So many fun adventures, so many educational experiences, and so many funny moments. So without further ado, here's a special conversation between Tim and I, taking the time to highlight some of our inspirational Agri-Adventures over the past 20 years. And I hope this is an inspiration for you to get out and try some of these things. Thank you, Tim, for sharing all of these memories with me. This is Jen Ross, your Agritourist podcast host. If you enjoy our podcast, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Enjoy the podcast.
I could not believe how many things there were. There's more I can't even think of still.
Well, I think that's why I think this is so important to do, because when we were coming back from our last trip, which we'll talk about, I could not believe the number of things we've done and we've been agritourists for so many years and we didn't even realize it. And then
we are trendsetters. So you are.
Yes. Well, no, we both are, because, we'll talk about your transition and since retirement. But we've done so many things, all really around, a lot of them surround the environment and not just agriculture, but just being outside.
They're all out. They're almost all outdoor oriented.
Yes.
And they're all most of them are experiential too.
Yes. It's tremendous.
It's not just watching things, it's doing things.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. Yeah. We've done a lot. So first, before we get started, how do you know me? How did we meet?
Well, the merger, basically, I guess. But
the merger of, for those who don't know, where did we work?
Well, there was a merger between Chemical Bank, which had gone through the Chemical Manufacturers Hanover merger, and then the next one was the Chase and Chemical merger, and I was from Chemical and you were from Chase. And this was during a period when there was like major consolidation going on in retail banking in New York City and the metro area here, which there were a lot of big banks. Now there's basically two left, but yeah.
So we both were in credit card marketing.
Yes.
For the new Chase.
Yes.
I don't even know. I don't even know what it was called at the time. I know it's JP Morgan Chase now, but at the time, and you were running like the Shell.
Well, I was doing I was doing the marketing, the product marketing business for Chemical Bank at the time, which was, not insignificant, but, we had, from a marketing budget, we had the largest marketing budget in the whole bank. uh, at the time, and we'd done some major things, some major news product things with the card, the Shell co-branded card, oil card. It was a chemical co-branded card, which was, I guess, one of the largest co-branded programs at the time.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was one of the only ones. It was one of
And
the
we won
ones,
some marketing awards for it, actually.
yeah. It was innovative at that time. I mean, it was
Yeah.
that, and like I think of what American Airlines might have had theirs, or it was
American
Ryanair,
Airlines
or
at Citibank, yeah, was
that was the big one.
the big one, the big co-branded one, and then this sort of got into other industries, if you will,
Yep. Yep.
um, and it was significant in that regard. And as I say, we got a lot of recognition for it, and we had national advertising at the time with the dancing cards, which was kind of a
Oh, I have to go get a clip of that.
yeah, it was yeah. Yeah, I used to have the copies of them, since long been thrown out, but they were catchy little ditty with it was done by Ogilvy and Mather down in Houston, which was a pretty good shop, I think, in handling the two clients, if you will, at the same time. Yeah,
Absolutely. So then
yeah,
we kind of came together and became closer and worked closely on the business credit card portfolio. First under Mike Carbone and then Jim
yes,
Gorman.
yes,
And we took some, we, that was probably, that, I guess, year or two was probably some of the best years. We worked so hard. We were like this small business within this big
yeah,
business. And
right.
we were so entrepreneurial and we worked hard and we played hard too,
Yeah.
especially
Well,
on
I
our trip
think,
to Arizona.
yeah, that was, yeah, where we took the desert trip in the Jeeps and little square dancing on the side
In the middle of the desert.
in the middle of the desert. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But we also don't forget to mention our creativity and making our own in-house videos there of some of the things we went through there, which are was as much fun of and satisfying a lot of different creative juices of that group that was very unifying, if you will, and brought a lot of people together and was very a good team building and esprit de corps type building there a little bit as we were kind of out of the mainstream, but we were chugging along and doing our thing. Yeah.
yep. It was kind of cool because we were taking all of our skills and just building something. And then we went through another merger with Bank One,
Yeah.
and that was it.
Yeah. There's only so many bank mergers you can go through without being, that really moved all our jobs out to Delaware. For me, it was an opportunity to, I guess, get out and I had enough years and all that stuff to step out and to still retain some health benefits and retirement status, if you will, which I still enjoy.
Yes, you do. And so we kept in touch post Chase on
Yeah.
on some obviously on some projects that we did with MasterCard and stuff like that. But beyond that, I think we realized that our birthdays were a day apart.
Oh, yes, of course. That's been a
And it's
yeah.
been our thing to celebrate and do something fun. So let's talk a little bit about some of our adventures. I actually made a list, and well, actually, we kind of made a list verbally from our last road trip
Our
back,
last, yes, our last.
which we'll talk about. But I started writing down some of our more agricultural focused ones, and then I started doing some research on the history of those farms, which it's funny because sometimes when we were there, I didn't do that research before I went there. And then I did some of the research now and I'm like, oh man, like there is such rich history on some of these places we visited. But let me start. I wanted, and it's not going to be in any particular order because some of these, I don't remember the particular order, but I do want to start with Hobbs Farm
Yeah.
because that was obviously my real focused kickoff to farming. And um,
But
Hobbs,
don't discount your food background as well, though, a little bit before you even did that.
well, you wanna talk
No,
about
I'm just
your
well, I'm
viewpoint
not.
of that?
I just I'm just
Go
saying
ahead.
that you were interested in food and
Yep.
um, and providing food and the background of food and creating food. So that was a precursor a little bit to some of the things you got into with Hobbs Farm when you actually, um, I guess, got your hands in the soil a little more
Yes.
directly. So, yeah,
Well, yeah, you actually, when I was working on the Heartbeat Cafe project,
yeah.
I was actually thinking of a real cafe and I didn't have the name at the time. And we were sitting at one of our lunches and I still have the napkin and you drew these characters,
Yes.
heart and beat,
Well,
on
it
the
was.
napkin.
Yeah, it's not exactly like Bill Gates and some of it, and or Steve Jobs sitting around with his buddy there in the garage, and wasn't quite like that. But at the same
Don't we
time, it
have
had to.
you in a
At the same
video
time,
as Bill Gates?
oh
Maybe I
well,
need
that's
to
another
show
story
that.
too. Yeah.
Maybe I need to show that on this. Were you Bill Gates in that video?
I was.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, that's what I thought. So
yes,
okay. But yeah, so you drew on a napkin heart and beat in their
yeah.
infancy.
Heart and beat. I guess I kind of, I guess, personified that some way. That was into a two characters, sort of like. They were almost like I don't know. They were almost like Fruit of the Loom characters, almost as I look back on it. And although I didn't really think of it in those terms, but they were these two cartoon characters, two entities that bounced off each other and with the same message of how to improve a person's eating and their health. That served to be logos almost, or uh, even the representative of the whole business, which was on all your websites, all your communications, and the side of a truck.
And they came alive in characters that I
Yes.
have.
Oh, the characters
Costumes.
as
Yes,
well.
we
Yes.
can't, we can't, who
Yes.
my
Like,
family have all
luckily your
participated
daughters
in.
were, were
And
up
my
for that.
son, and my son.
Was he in it as well?
Oh, yes, and
Okay.
his ex-girlfriend. And yeah,
Okay. Well,
I've recruited almost everybody for that, including myself many times. But
well,
yeah, so the name came alive that day. And it's funny because I think that might have helped inspire some of your artist work, which we'll talk about a little bit. The artist Tim Werbe. Yeah, so Heartbeat Cafe, I had explored doing a healthy food cafe and did go through some processes of doing some things with lunch programs for kids, but I'm not a chef by any means. I have ideas, but I just never was able to establish the right partnership and business model to really thrive, especially on Long Island, because it is hard, especially with retail space. And even with a program to, maybe I was thinking of some kind of healthy food program for schools. It just, it was kind of ahead of its time at that time, and I didn't have the right resources and people around me to really execute the way I wanted to. What's great is I know there are a lot of programs doing that today, and that's a great thing. So I did find myself in at Hobbs Farm volunteering and then obviously developing Heartbeat Farms. But I brought you to volunteer one day at the farm. Before we talk about that, one of the things I did want to say is, Hobbs had a huge like history to it, and I actually did a lot of the research on Hobbs. And it was funny, I was looking for my research and I found a an old paper that Anna did.
Uh,
like I just a research paper where she was talking about, I guess, farming in some capacity for some paper she was doing. I believe it was in high school. It might have been college. I don't know. But she wrote this paragraph, and I just wanted to read this because I thought this was really cool because a lot of people, again, don't know the history of some of these farms. And I think it's really important to understand that. She wrote, Hobbs Farm started back in 1906 when James Hobb moved from Georgia to Center Reach, Long Island. After numerous negotiations, he purchased the land for sale on Ox Head Road. After years of hard work and labor, Hobbs Farm emerged from shrubs and dirt. From this, the farm was passed down in generations until the last son, Alfred, who died in 1990. The property was then turned over to local Bethel AME Church, which the land sat untouched for years to come. The degradation of the beautiful property upset local resident Ann Pellegrino. After begging for a portion of the land to farm on, the church finally caved in. For years, Anne was discouraged multiple times for being told she will never be able to farm on the land, to the several licenses and permits she had to attain to make their dream attainable. She was discouraged but kept pursuing her vision. It all started with the local farm stand on Sundays from 10 to 2. That revenue from the weekly farm stand would cover most of their bills and expenses, but Hobbs Farm ultimately struggled financially. This is what she wrote. That was until Jen Ross and I were introduced to the farm. I love how
oh, yes.
while volunteering on the farm and donating all the excess produce, it truly changed my perspective and outlook on food insecurity and the lack of nutrient-filled healthy food. These families would receive cans upon cans of food, which was unhealthy and lacked supplemental nutrients. While donating the leftover vegetables for those local food pantries, we noticed the lack of greens in the donations, and the farm wanted to change that. And that was the whole purpose of Hobbs Farm. She was a recipient of a food pantry, and she saw that it was mostly canned and packaged foods, and she wanted, when she was in a better place, she wanted to do something. And then the Hobbs Farm property was literally steps away from her house. And when he passed away, Alfred Hobbs, she saw that as an opportunity to give back. And she basically developed that farm and started donating to food pantries and still does. I stepped in more to create some revenue streams that would help the farm because that was always the struggle. It was never really made into a sustainable business that could support itself. It was always kind of getting donations and stuff like that, which unfortunately is not as sustainable, especially where we live. But that place is magical and has done such an amazing job of helping the community here and still does. So it was kind of cool. And my family was involved, especially the girls and Tyler. They kind of grew up there and they have distinct memories of that farm. So I invited you out for a day.
Yes.
What do you remember from that day?
I remember how hard farming is physically. Physically, it is very demanding, and anybody that does it, hats off, because it's down and dirty, and I can see there's something. It's nature, it's growing things. I mean, there's something magical about that kind of stuff. To put something in the ground, take care of it, nurture it, water it, whatever, and all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later or whatever, you see these little things poking up, in the ground, and you had a hand in that. So that is a very appealing and strong attachment, I guess, to the process. It's.
Yep.
I remember, gosh, baling hay or something like that. I putting hay down or picking hay up. Was it? We had
All
a
the
big
above.
we had a big wagon. Yeah, it's either one or the other. I never had to shovel manure, though. I don't think so.
No, no.
Yep.
And also you had an opportunity. We had like you said, the branded Heartbeat Farms mobile farm stand truck. And we
Yeah,
used to
that was
bring
yeah.
that to several locations, one of them being Stony Brook University. We used to go on campus. We trialed going on campus. And you came with me one day.
Yes, I did.
Tell
Yeah, I
me
was.
about your
Well,
perspective of that whole thing.
yeah. Well, that was. I don't know. This truck ran, Uh,
Thank God.
but I love the decorations on the side of it and everything. But all of a sudden, you pull it over to the side there, and it transforms itself. Well, you do it. You do physically do it, but you unpack all the stuff. You've got all of a sudden you set up a retail location, if you will, mobile, but food's displayed, um, signs are put up, and it was it was interesting. And then you become a salesperson, and you're talking to the kids walking by or the teachers walking by, and obviously the ones interested in healthy food stop by, and so yes, nice interpersonal reaction to that stuff.
Yeah. And wasn't that one of the first, didn't you taste a lot of the honey on that day? When you
Yes,
experienced some
yes,
of the honey that day?
yes, yes. And I remember the things. I remember a couple things. One was the black-eyed plants. You had the plants too.
Yep.
Like what are they called? Sunflowers.
Okay.
Sun-
Yes.
The sunflower plant. I remember a lot of sunflower plants, and I remember honey. So those are two things that were big sellers, as I recall.
Yes. Sunflowers were always big sellers
Yeah,
everywhere I went.
yeah.
Yep.
Uh, and interesting enough, sunflowers were one of the first paintings I ever did, which I think I gave you, didn't I,
I
eventually?
have that actually
Yeah,
right here, and I
yeah,
will show that when I
yeah,
do my Instagram post.
yeah. So
Absolutely.
I think one of the things, the takeaways is I think I started getting more healthy eating habits then and still do from the association. Some things I'd always learn something more about. Like who knew who knew chocolate was okay? Dark chocolate was okay to eat and not feel bad about it.
It's very,
Anyhow,
very healthy.
that's another story too.
I know. We've gone down a lot of journeys. So
And then you got
let's,
to pack up all this stuff
uh,
and drive it home and unpack it at the farm again. So
yeah, it's not, it,
it's a labor-intensive business.
yes, but it's a labor of love.
Yes.
Absolutely. So another one of our adventures, one was Fishkill Farms, and one of the
Yes.
reasons I went up to Fishkill Farms, and I actually I did not know the history of Fishkill Farms until very recently, and I'm going to just read something quick. Fishkill Farms. So I could not find. Our farm was not certified organic, but we grew everything organically. And we did not grow fruit. And one of the things in the fall was, I wanted to have apples, and I could not find an organic apple around here. So the closest apple to organic I could find was this eco-friendly apple, which I did not understand what that certification was, but they were grown in Fishkill,
Yeah.
Fishkill Farms. And so I would take a drive up there at like 4 in the morning and be there and get my apples, and then usually would come back to you in Greenwich on the way back to miss the traffic. But we went and actually visited the farm together one time. And just so people know, so Fishkill is a 270-acre apple orchard and vegetable farm in East Fishkill, New York. Um, but what was interesting, I did not know this, is they so basically the historic significance, because its founder Henry Morgenthau Jr. and his wife Eleanor Morgenthau were close and enduring family friends of Franklin D. Roosevelt and Eleanor Roosevelt.
Oh, the Roosevelts.
Yes, we have a lot of Roosevelts and Rockefellers in our adventures. So, Fishkill Farms was acquired by Henry Morgenthau Jr. in the fall of 1913 when he was 22 years old. And basically, he ended up working for FDR. Through the years, there's a whole history, but he ended up working for FDR, and there was always that relationship there. So I did not realize that farm held so much political and historical
Hmm.
value. Not that many farms do, and we just don't know that piece of it. But I never knew this. I literally just found this out, and I've been up there several times. But we
Yeah.
had a really cool, I mean, it is an absolutely beautiful farm. It is the epitome of agritourism. I mean, since we've been
Yeah.
there, they have expanded significantly and they get thousands of visitors on the weekdays and the weekends, especially, not just for apple picking and fruit picking, but just, they have a ton of experiences for families.
Yeah.
What was your perspective of Fishkill?
Yeah, I think this is one of the first, yeah, it was probably the first time I've ever been to a place of this size, this magnitude. I mean, I can remember the store, if you will, or
Yes, huge.
I don't know. I mean, it's like, and they have there's just so many things that get your attention in there. That were all food and farm related, and the things they carried there. I mean, almost everything they sell there was available there. It was just a huge place, I remember it was how large it was, and I do remember the kid friendliness of it a little bit too. I remember took a picture of you with a cutout of your head sticking through it. For
Yep.
people, not geared necessarily for you, but you're young at heart, and we took that picture. But it's an unbelievable view too of the lower Hudson's almost. It's not, I would say it's probably 10 miles from the river or something, but you get the lower uh, Berkshires in view and the far away lower Catskills a little bit. So that part of New York State it's relatively close to New York City. I mean, more than 40 miles or something. Yeah.
Yep.
But it's a completely different environment, a rural environment, shall we say. Yeah, so-
Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah, and it's interesting because I did an interview with Michael Rosine, who runs Red Tomato, who owns the eco certification of those
yeah.
apples. And so he knows Fishkill very well and has kind of told me a lot about the history. So that's kind of what inspired me to look it up because I didn't know. It's just it is amazing. I love knowing the connections and the importance of those connections and how those connections supported these farms. And now they're still alive and thriving, which is so
As you
important.
say, it's all seasonal too. So it's all year round. I mean, some of these places that are open the fall or something, where they bring in the fall harvest. That's kind of
Yep.
seasonal. It's one time or something. Then all the rest of the year it's kind of dormant. They're just growing stuff. There's no visiting. There's no education. There's no things going on.
Yep.
So um, this place has got their niche pretty well figured out and probably thriving
Yep.
so far.
And then another thriving farm that you introduced me to, and we ended up doing a tour. I think this was for one of our birthdays.
Yeah.
Was Stone Barns Center for Food and Agriculture.
Yeah. Yeah. That's in the Rockefeller. That's in the Rockefeller, Westchester County area near north of Pleasantville, which there's a park over there. I think it's called the Rockefeller Park or something. I forget the name of it.
Yeah, so what I have as far as the history is in 2004, 80 acres of the Rockefeller State Preserve, which was established in 1983, was donated to Stone Barns with the goal of creating a regional hub where visitors could participate in an ecological food system. Their iconic fieldstone barns were designed and built as a family dairy operation in the 30s under the direction of John D. Rockefeller Jr., whose family purchased hundreds of acres in the lower Hudson Valley. And after the passing of Peggy Rockefeller, David Rockefeller and his daughter Peggy Delaney led a renovation of the buildings. Mrs. Rockefeller hoped that the farm buildings in the Pocatinco Hills could be returned to their original use, paving the way for Stone Barns' founding. They also they have a restaurant partner called Blue Hill, which was founded in 2004.
Yeah, that is a Epicurean's paradise. I mean, they have rotating chefs that come in there. It is a well-known culinary place to visit if you want to just be a foodie and go eat there. And
Yep.
I stumbled across this place. I mean, I'd heard of Blue Hill, blah blah blah, and I knew the park was there, but I'd never been there. And I ended up my first experience there was cross country skiing in the park there in the wintertime
Oh,
with my friend John Nelson. And so there's a whole system of carriage trails through there that and rolling countryside, meadows, forests, water, the whole bit. It's receives visitors every day throughout the year. So it is, and the Stone Hill is located kind of on the edge there.
Yep.
And so when I saw that, I said, "Oh, you got to come over here and see this place." But when I learned a little bit about it and was walking around, when I took my daughter over there one time too to see it, and well, I think she'd been, or maybe she took me because she'd been there before as well, hiking and stuff. So it's quite a place.
Yep. And yeah, they do dinners and they have
Yeah,
tons of education. I mean, we took a tour when we were there and we
yeah,
got to see the whole property and the farming
we did,
operations and
we did.
the animal operations. And then we went independently into some of the greenhouses there.
Wasn't that something? Those greenhouses. Yeah,
It was an amazing, I mean, it was an amazing operation. It was
yeah, that's
beautiful,
about as big as that's a big greenhouse operation there for growing.
huge.
Yeah,
So
and
definitely, again, another agritourism dream. I mean, they have taken it, different than Fishkill Farms, definitely very different than Fishkill Farms, but very similar in a lot of ways.
well, it's very this place is very educational, and it's historical. The tours it showed how the Native Americans there had done created dyes. I was interested in painting at the
Yes,
time, and
that was
how they
interesting.
created these true dyes from plants.
Yep.
Um, and
Yeah,
how
they had a whole area that
yeah,
focused on that.
yeah, and
Yep.
how they made that into uh, dyeing fabric even.
Yep. Yep. And
But
they
and
actually,
the greenhouses, I think, are even involved with science. I think there's some kind of
well, that's what I was going to say. They do a lot of research there. They have a lot of research programs and grants. They work with Cornell a lot. When you really dive into their website, there's so many programs going on. I love that, you know, it's a different angle than a fish kill, but again, it's all supporting our environment and agriculture
yeah,
and food and our food systems. Very
yeah.
important.
Another thing I remember was when were walking around outside, the sheep and I guess the sheep for the most part are in these pens, and they're guarded by
Those
the
dogs.
dogs.
I can't
Great,
remember the name.
they're Great Pyrenees dogs.
Yes.
These are European dogs. They're large dogs, and they stay with the animals. They live outside, sleep outside with these animals, and protect the animals. They're not hunting dogs, they're protecting dogs.
That's their role. Yep.
That's their job to
Their
protect
purpose. Yep.
coyotes or wolves or whoever would want to get in there. And these dogs will protect them. And that was there's several pens where we saw when that was going on. And these dogs are very, some people have them as pets in this country. In fact, I painted one the other day for somebody. So they're very, they can be family dogs too, but that's what they're bred for.
Yeah.
It's good to see kind of that old school stuff still being carried on like that it was done for, I'm sure, for centuries in Europe.
I want to jump to something that I had forgotten about. And then I realized, my God, and then again, I went online to do some research. The New York Botanical Gardens in the Bronx.
Yes.
I don't know, that was your idea because I've always known about it, but I never went there.
Well,
And
here's the thing, if you remember, we happened to we happened to take a trip to the Bronx Zoo. Do you remember that trip?
I do remember the trip to the Bronx Zoo,
Okay,
yes.
well,
Which I have been to with other people. Like I
yeah,
have
but
been to the Bronx Zoo.
yeah, and so maybe that triggered the thought because right on the other side of the parkway, there's something is the Botanical Gardens,
Yep.
and we all know about the Botanical Gardens, but well, you have to be into that stuff probably. Although there's unbelievable gardens that really are for sure. But, yeah,
Well, here,
and we were there in the winter time.
yeah, well, that's the thing. Like it was, again, it was amazing that like again here I'm just going to read a quick
Yeah.
synopsis of what it is because I don't think a lot of people really get what they even do.
Yeah.
So the New York Botanical Garden has been a connective hub among people, plants, and the planet since 1891.
Hmm.
Who knew? I didn't know that. They have 250 acres and they're home to renowned exhibitions, immersive botanical experiences, art and music, and events with some of the most influential figures in plant and fungal science, horticulture, and the humanities. They're also stewards of globally significant research collections, and from the Leicester T. Mertz Library Collection to the plant and fungal specimens in the William and Linda Steer Herbarium, the largest such collection in the Western Hemisphere. So it says at New York Botanical Gardens, we're plant people, dedicated horticulturists, enthusiastic educators, and scientific adventurers, committed to helping nature thrive so that humanity can thrive. So I'm like those are my people. Like and I never until I went there with you. First of all, I never realized what was there. And then secondly, I never realized the impact they're having and all the programs and the research
Yeah.
again. And it was funny because I went on there this morning and they have this, I just have to mention this because I thought this was so cool. They have this Van Gogh thing and it's all like it had sunflowers and they have this, it's during the day, they have this whole Van Gogh exhibit,
Yeah.
but basically they have this thing called, which this is, I liked this, Van Gogh's Starry Nights. Van Gogh's
Yes.
flowers come aglow for these evening outings that capture the twinkling allure of the artist's nightmare scenery. Find
Yeah.
yourself surrounded by the botanical beauty that inspired Van Gogh. Wander through a breathtaking lawn of real sunflowers, relax to live music and performers, and celebrate the iconic Starry Night with a 10-minute illuminated drone show finale sparkling in the night sky.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah. This is a well-known current thing going on there. And I casually I've been with a couple of people that have been down to see it and said it was spectacular. Yeah. I bet you they have multiple school buses in there every day, particularly in the summer months. I
Yep.
mean, they're just very educational center. Everything is labeled there.
Yeah, just so educational. I just remember coming out of there and just being like, wow, I did not realize this was like, not that the Bronx is right by us, but it is right by us.
Yeah, and you don't know, you're not cognizant of that at all, which is
Yep.
amazing. And not that that's a bad thing, but I mean, there's, Arthur Avenue's not too far away from there either if you want to go down and have some nice Italian fare, you know. Um, what I remember about our trip there was, as I say, this was not only was the wintertime, it was right before Christmas. So, or they had this Christmas room set up in this long, do you remember that? All the
Yes, I
Christmas
do.
decorations and
Yes.
that was spectacular to see. I mean, it's
Yep.
just very, very interesting.
I don't know if we ended up seeing it or I read this, but they are one of the only places in in like this part of the world that has a thriving cacao tree because you
Oh,
can't really
yeah,
grow cacao here. And
you're right.
I don't think I don't remember if we saw it or I read it, but
Yeah.
I might have read it after the fact and didn't get to see it, but
Mm.
for some reason I know that. Of
Yeah.
course, I'm interested in that because of chocolate, but
Yes.
yeah, so honestly, I had to mention that because it was one of those places we went to, and it's just so funny because everything we've done is so interconnected. And when I reflect back now, I see it. But, when we were doing it all, not that I just wasn't totally
Well,
aware.
yeah, I think you looked at things then, as you probably still do. It's always something that's periphery to whatever your interests are, and your interests broaden and shrink as you go along, as you come focus whatnot. But
Yep.
this is how you this is how you this is how this is how you exist. So it's a good thing.
So another thing that we did, I guess was it last year? Your daughter, you want to explain the connection and then or how we got to the Bean Festival in Sheffield,
Yeah, this
Massachusetts and the
yeah, this is
Berkshires.
right on the this is Sheffield, Connecticut is just on the line with Massachusetts in the Berkshires, just south of Great Barrington. And my daughter's boyfriend's sister lives up there, and they have three kids, and they live. Uh, one of the sons is very involved in growing things, and they've got room on their property, on their parents' property there to have a small garden, and they have an annual bean festival. Don't ask me why they chose beans. I don't know why they chose them,
I
but
can I can tell
beans are
you.
very they're sleepers here a little bit in your diets. I mean, they are very healthy for you, and
Yep.
there's nothing
Well,
bad about eating beans, I guess.
well, I'll just give you the quick, their little summary because I did end up, besides going to the Bean Festival with you, I did end up speaking with them separately. They're called Little Bean Farm and Pantry, and they're no-till and veganic, meaning, they're vegan. But the Little Bean was founded in 2022 by Brittany Ebeling and Ben Webb. Ben is
Yeah.
the son of the sister.
Yes.
They eat, Brittany and Ben, they eat a whole foods plant-based diet and wanted to grow what they eat while bringing plant protein to their community in the Berkshires.
Yeah.
They're heirloom dry beans, and they were all heirloom beans. They were amazing. Garlic and other products are grown with intention and commitment to the health of the planet. Their practices reflect their environment and social justice values.
Yeah.
So you invited me to their bean festival last year. I've been to the Berkshires, but I didn't realize it was the Berkshires. And that opened up a whole new world for me
Yeah, you
that
had you
day.
got a completely different take on the Berkshires from that on a local level, not just a person passing through and oh, that's nice, that's nice. Yeah,
That day was amazing. And
yeah,
not only because we met, you and I met, I happened to be in Massachusetts and
yeah,
coming from the middle of Massachusetts,
yes,
and I met you and
yeah.
we
Where was
actually,
that?
was I in Maine? I think I was in Maine and then in Massachusetts and then I met you. And we met at the Berkshire Food Co-op, I believe.
Co-op or
Yes,
something.
for
Yes,
lunch.
yes, that's
And it
right.
was like this mini Whole Foods, the
Yeah,
old Whole Foods style.
yeah,
And I was
right.
like in my glory. We sat outside, we listened to
Yes,
music,
yes,
we ate something really healthy,
yes, that's right.
and then we drove down to the farm
Yeah, about 5 miles south of there. Yeah.
and we planted garlic.
Yes, the first thing we got out of the car and we were greeted by Ben and his fiance who were shoeless at the time. This was in October or something.
Yes, it was. And we
And
planted
we
garlic,
it put us to work right away planting stuff.
which I love. And
Yes,
then they had this whole first they did a lot of talking about beans and then they had this whole display
yes,
and we learned so much about beans and how how they're planted and harvested and then the best part was they were cooking beans in a very traditional way in the
yes.
ground.
Yeah, it's almost like a lobster bake or something, where
Yes, except with beans.
except with beans.
And
Yeah, so
and we all
It's
brought we
buried
brought
under
our
the.
own, yep. We brought our own cups
Yep.
and then we got to taste. And what was your impression?
I'm not unfamiliar with beans, but it was different than getting some Campbell's pork and beans out of the grocery store.
It was real. Like to me,
Yeah,
it
it's
was some
real.
of the
It's
best
real.
beans I've ever tasted. It just,
Okay. Well, you
it,
would know more about that.
yeah, I just, again, anything that you grow and
Yeah,
it's not, from a can or even not that the beans in the store, the ones, you buy to cook aren't,
right.
but again, they're still packaged. They go through,
Yeah,
transportation and I'm
yeah,
sure they're cured in some different ways. I don't know that whole process, but I have to say, when you're eating something right from a farm that's been processed right at a farm and then cooked right at the farm,
yeah,
there is nothing like that farm to table
yeah,
authenticity.
yeah. That
So
was,
I was blown away by their passion, their commitment,
yeah.
not just to what they were growing, but the land they were growing on.
Hmm.
The history of the land, preserving the land and, you know, the concerns with water. And they really were in touch with what was going on and the concerns and doing something about it. And I just loved their commitment. They just were
what
so
was also
passionate.
interesting was the intergenerational people there. There must have, I'm going to guess maybe 40 people, maybe, I don't know, 50. It wasn't a large. They were all people that knew about it. It wasn't like they brought in, there weren't big signs on the road or anything bringing people in. These are all people that somehow local folks, and a few people like us as well, but we had a connection to be there as well.
Yep.
And but it was I mean, there was people from 95 to 5.
Yep.
And that's always a good thing
Yep.
when you're not just targeting a little niche here or there or something. That everybody, these are things that have more value and more meaning to a community and whatnot. And it's definitely a community of some sort there. That's
Absolutely.
Now, what were those? What were some of those machines? There was some kind of machine there. What was that machine that was? What,
I don't remember. I have pictures of it.
it was. It
Well,
was somehow.
there were
It was.
things to crack the bean
Yes,
and
it was
crush the
cracking.
bean and yeah, and to
It was. It
harvest
was
the
a.
bean.
It was a. It was a mechanical operation of some sort, not electrically driven, but by
Oh,
your foot.
it
Your
was like a
you,
bicycle.
yes, it was something. It was some foot or hand generated thing that somehow was separating the beans or something, and
Yep.
to
Yeah.
that
They
it's
had a
quicker than
whole
hand doing it individually by hand or something.
yeah.
That was
Yeah, no, I know they're doing the festival this year as well in early October. So you can, I'll put a link up to the Little Bean Farm. But it definitely, again, what a magical experience. And one thing I learned, which I did not know, which obviously was very intriguing to me, which your daughter mentioned during the event, was that the Appalachian Trail goes through there.
right. It
Didn't
does.
know that. I had no
Yeah.
clue.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't the parents they are a host to people. I believe their home is one of the hosts to people on the trail who need a break.
Oh, well, that could be. I don't think I don't know. That's a good
They said
question.
they were listed on,
Okay.
but yeah, so I again, what an an amazing experience. And before we talk about one of the most recent ones, we've had a ton of like I'll call them smaller experiences. Well, first there was a farm in your neighborhood that you brought to my attention.
Oh, that was
The
interesting
mushroom
too.
guy. I
It's
can't
called
remember the name of the farm though.
Versailles. It was called Versailles Farm.
Yes, for Sci Farm. So
Yeah.
he did mushrooms, he did honey, and now he turned it into an orchard,
Oh,
correct?
yeah. He was a local guy here with really had no farming experience. He was I think in Wall Street type of guy or something, and he bought this property and wasn't he didn't even live there. I mean, he lived on the other side of town, which is 20 minutes away or whatnot. But he more or less committed. He and his wife, the two of them, committed this farm, and they they were at one time had a restaurant. They went from selling to retail to being almost wholesale provider to some of the restaurants
Right.
around, for some of the herbs and some of these. And this was a term which where I first came a little more understood a little bit was he called it sustainable farming. But it was quite a place, and they would be open once a week on weekends, or no, or maybe I don't know, Saturdays maybe you could go over there and buy tomatoes, or you could anyhow. But the interesting thing was, I think he was looking to sell a property and this and that, and but he had some undeveloped property there, and now he is growing apples. That's it. He's he's growing apples in some kind of European process where you you go to maximize space, you go sideways. The trees go up, but they're on the lines go sideways, and so that you get more. They don't take up space, so they grow up and down more is what I'm saying, as opposed to
Okay.
broaden out.
Wide. Yep.
So you can get more efficient usage. And so this is I don't know how many acres he's got that. He's probably got 4 or 5 acres that but he just and I went by there the other day, and I mean, it's when I was there, and then and when you were there, that was in the future. And now this has been 3 or 4 years later, and he's got this whole. He's a doer, and he's self-taught himself, and he's researched stuff, and and,
So
it's
passionate. Again, like,
yeah,
because you brought me over there and we met with him. And
yeah,
again, just the passion, the thoughtfulness that was put into how he built that farm up. And
yeah,
like the whole, what I loved about the one thing that he reminded me of was when I was traveling specifically to Belize and specifically to this one farm called Eladio's farm. Like Eladio had this whole ecosystem, so everything was feeding off of each other. And when I met with him at Versailles Farm, that's how I felt again. Like he built it as this, it was like an ecosystem. So
yeah.
everything was kind of helping each other.
Absolutely.
And
It's all thought out. It's all
yep,
strategically coexists there. This
yes,
does that, this helps that, and this and that.
yes,
I mean, the plants they grew were bringing butterflies in that are
exactly.
being endangered here, and honeybees are in there now in a way that they were before. So it's these people are they're not necessarily pioneers, but they're people that see the future and are trying to save what is good, you know.
Yep, yep. And they care about the earth and
Yeah,
what we're
yeah.
bringing to it. Let's mention a few things. One, ne next door to you is also it's not a farm per se, but it is
It was at one time.
an environmental paradise. Well,
Now it
let's
is.
not fail to mention that,
Yes,
well, you live in a very historic home. From what year was your home?
1848.
Okay,
It's
1848.
it's a small house, obviously, but
Next door to you, though, is a much larger property
yeah.
that Mel Gibson used to live in for, I guess, I'll say a brief amount of time because I don't
Yeah.
know how long he
Yeah.
was there, but I
It's
don't think you
75
ever,
acres,
you
78,
never,
75
okay.
acre piece of land.
And
Yeah.
it's like a mansion.
There's a 100-year-old mansion. There's a 100-year-old mansion built in the place. Yeah.
So now, though, it's owned by a local woman
Yes.
who just quickly talk about what she's doing there because we go hiking there sometimes.
Some developer, first of all, she's concerns of land, which is because we were under threat of a 28 condos going in there by a developer. We organized the neighbors to go to the town hall and go to the meetings and to express concern about this because there would have to be a special variance made to the zoning structures and whatnot for something like that to happen. And so we had 100 people show up and scared the developer off. Just so happens the lady who lives across the street there, who was of like mind of not only conserving things but of educational things and social value type stuff, and she had the resources to when she heard that there was another developer was going to come and put 14 condos in there. So great, but so she bought the property. She's created a nonprofit there for this house where she has educational, rents it out for educational purposes. She has artist in residence programs. It's all educational. It's all about people going in there talking about big issues. So it's like it's almost like a meeting place, conference center. I mean, she rents it out for a wedding here and there. So she's promoting culture, arts, food. She's got greenhouses in there that she's refurnished. She opened it up to where you can walk around the perimeter, which is about if you go around and come back, it's probably a mile and a half or two.
And
Uh,
you've not only hiked, you've actually snowshoed
I have snowshoed in there, which deep snow, which is
with the snowshoes I bought you.
yes, yes, yes. That was I. I never took a walk in the snow where I sweated as much as I did that. There was a foot of snow. Yeah, so you can take your dog in there off a leash, which is nice, and the neighbors love it for that purpose alone. So she's done a lot to preserve the environment here, the ground here.
Do you know
Uh,
the name of her nonprofit?
Foundation House. Yeah.
Yeah, she's doing some amazing stuff, and I know she's had some really cool organizations. I mean, we went for some,
Yeah.
wasn't it a film? Was it a
Well,
film?
it's
It was an art. There were more than just film. There was some
oh yeah,
film
there's writers,
makers.
there's artists, there's dancers, there's
Yep.
and these are all people that are struggling that apply for a grant for a 10 or 2 week grant to go in there and be associated with other folks. And then when they're finished, they open it up and we all go in and get there to see what they're working on.
That's great.
We go on, there's also near me, as you know, there's the Greenwich Land Trust garden, which is an educational type of thing.
Okay.
Greenwich Land Trust solicits donations to buy land in this area here to preserve it from development, and
Good.
And so that's going on. By the way, as you know, we had a bear going through my yard the other day.
Yes, I saw the picture.
Yeah.
You were talking about that happening with your daughter in a different part of Connecticut, and then all of a sudden it showed up in your...
Wasn't the same bear, but yeah. Maybe it was.
I know. The one rogue bear.
Yeah.
I just want to mention before we talk about the last thing I want to talk about, I'm going to mention, like, we've been ATV riding in northern Connecticut.
Yeah.
And then we stopped at a dairy farm for ice cream with the girls, actually. We've gone cross country skiing, snow tubing in Connecticut. We've definitely tubed the Farmington River in Connecticut.
Didn't we do that twice?
We 2 or 3 times. That was honestly, one time was on my birthday. I know that. I remember that specifically. And I know Anna was with us. I believe it was Anna was with us one time.
Yeah, she was.
And I got to say, that's one of my favorite things that we've done, because it just, I mean, it has some exciting moments, but just being on the river. And I remember coming off the river and you get bussed back. And I remember getting off the bus and there was a farm across the street. And I remember seeing someone farming, and I just, again, it just, that feeling of being in nature, it just, those were some of my favorite times.
I remember floating down the river about 5 feet from this little duck family.
Yes.
I'm looking over at them. I'm
really
down at their level, and they didn't seem to mind me being there at all.
So many amazing things to do. We've been to Mystic Seaport. We've walked the High Line in New York City, which is very filled with art and even some plants. They grow a lot on the High Line, and that is an amazing thing to do if you are in the city. Like, if anyone's in the city, what a beautiful, and there's a lot of signs that talk about the history and the plant life and what's growing. So it's educational. And then what we ended up doing is we created our own little chocolate tour and food tour with the girls especially. And so, again,
places I would never have gone into otherwise, probably.
Yeah. And such deep, not just cultural, but agritourism type of components to it that you wouldn't think, The last, we'll mention this one last agricultural experience. Yeah. So, we didn't really get to celebrate our birthdays on our birthdays this year. So a few weeks after, I came across this farm to table dinner in the Catskills. And of course I was like, hey, you want to do this? It was actually through a podcaster, Dana DePrima. So we drove up to the Catskills a few weeks ago on a Saturday to the historic Beaverkill Valley Inn, which I didn't know anything about until we got there. You did a little bit of research, but I'll just, quickly. So it was originally named the Bonnie View Inn, and it was built in 1895 by Mr. and Mrs. J. Rankin Towse. The area is known for fly fishing. I guess it's the home of the American dry. It says the birthplace of American dry fly fishing. I don't know the difference between fly fishing and dry fly fishing, but it's the Beaverkill River. So we went there, we were hanging out, we learned a little bit about the history, and we joined Dana for this farm to table dinner. And we kind of learned a little bit about who kind of was very influential on this, like who kind of owns the property now and who ended up sitting next to us at the table. Larry and Wendy Rockefeller. So it was one of those evenings where we met some amazing people, and, we got to eat local food from the Catskills, a really enjoyable meal. And we got to learn the history of this inn and fly fishing. And it's just amazing how you can walk into an experience and then it turns into this evening of different connections, and I never knew, we'd be sitting next to the Rockefellers and not know
Yeah,
it.
right. They were they're very low key. I mean, they were just no different than anybody else there, really. Yeah. And we didn't really, you and I aren't from that area, so everybody else that was there were local people, most of them from New York City that go up there for the summer or go up there on weekends year round. And so they're all kind of woven together and knew each other. But yeah, it was an interesting historical and uh, learning. It was the foundation. Her nonprofit was called for Farmer
For
Movement.
Farmers Movement.
For
Yes. Yeah. And
Farmers.
I did an interview with her, and yeah, she's doing some amazing work. I mean, honestly, the grants she has, and she offers to farmers are going to become more and more valuable, especially with everything going on with the USDA and just so many challenges that farmers are going to face going forward. But she is doing some amazing work to support them. And
Particularly the smaller farmers
yes,
across the country. They're not
yes.
just local farmers. These are from all over the country.
Yep.
And I went on her website too, and after I was there, and learned a lot more about it as well. And our friend Lawrence Rockefeller, though, he's bought 4,000 acres up there, Jen,
Yep.
to protect it from outside developers and to keep local farmers going there. He's worked out. He's a conservation legal lawyer. That's what his trade is, so to speak. And so he is in his own way, very quietly and just kind of one of the neighbors up there has done a lot to keep that land still productive and not into housing developments and
Yep.
what vacation homes.
Yeah, and with his wife Wendy, I had a connection to her
Yeah.
through Michael from Red Tomato. How the whole eco certification for apples and peaches came about was through work that Wendy and Meryl Streep did or were
Yes.
involved in. So there was
Yes.
this whole connection that came out of our conversations. And the
Yeah.
funny thing is, I went to visit Red Tomato
Right.
recently in Providence, Rhode Island, their headquarters, and had an opportunity to meet the team. And they do amazing work. They're doing amazing work for the food system, which, I interviewed their executive director, Angel. We just published that interview. And I don't think people realize the impact of the work they're doing. I think they're going to realize it more and more, though, as things are getting harder and more expensive. But I connected Michael and Wendy, reconnected them, so they're talking actually.
Yeah.
So it was kind of nice. It's like amazing the interconnections, and I
Yeah.
think the power of these connections and people talking more about these challenges will figure out new ways and more collaborative work on how to help with some of these challenges going
Yeah,
forward.
because it's a network basically too. It's not individuals. You'd be surprised how connected all you food agricultural concerned people are together, and how much knowing each other and talking to each other and supporting one another it makes everybody's efforts stronger as a group as opposed to just individual one-off types of things.
Yep. And by the way, you said you foodies. I think you're one of them.
Well, I regret saying that. I, I I didn't have anything
Sorry,
to
you're
good.
part of the club.
I didn't eat anything last night except sautéed vegetables. That was all I ate last night. Yeah. So
Yes, that's the one thing I love when we see each other. We're always exploring new healthy restaurants, and there's always like new culinary experiences. And you've done a lot of cooking for me when I see you now. So I love watching you with your little wok and your
yes,
vegetables
yeah.
and I
And my
really
avocado sprayer,
yes,
or
yes, yes.
avocado oil sprayer.
Yes. You've always been fairly healthy, but I think you've evolved in your eating from what you learned from me, from your daughter, and from your
Yeah,
own adventures.
both of you guys. Yeah,
Yep, yep.
for sure.
So let's sum this up. I'm sure we're going to have many new adventures to come,
I hope
which
so.
I always they find us. We don't usually have to find them. these adventures kind of find us, and then
Well,
I'm always like, hey, let's go explore this, or you send me articles all the time, and I'm like, yeah, let's go do that.
no, I mean it's like when it's like your everyday things. If I see some, you see some, boom, it's there. Try this, let's go there, let's try whatever. It's amazing how many things we've done. I was making, as a result of this call today, it's amazing. It's it's crazy.
And I think it was important for us to reflect on it, because I don't think either of us realized until we were on our way home, when we were
Yeah.
hysterically laughing about
Yes.
everything that happened at the Beaver Kill Inn. We were reflecting on all these experiences. And that's why I really was inspired to have this conversation, because we've created our own, experiences, again, just by things we've seen and conversations with other people and things we see on the internet. And we've actually, though, the thing that we do is we actually go and do it. We go and make that time to spend that quality time together and experience it. And there's so much value in that. And I want to emphasize that to people, that just go do it, go experience it and look around you, because like we said about the botanical gardens, I mean, most of us have some type of botanical gardens or arboretums around us, and we probably never visited them. Or, you have the bird sanctuary right by you that we went to once. The Audubon, like, just walk through and, there's just so many things that you don't have to travel far, that you can experience right around you. Do a little research, go to your library. A library has a lot of things listed usually about these types of experiences, but just explore, get outside.
Yes, exactly.
So, any last words of wisdom from Tim Werbe or
No,
Thomas Werbe III?
I don't think so.
You know what? I wanted to make sure we captured our journey, because I didn't realize until we started talking that day of all the things we've done.
It's quite a bit. I mean, seriously, there's got to be 35 or 40 things here. I mean, I didn't mention all of them. We didn't even talk about kayaking, for instance, today.
Oh, yeah. I totally forgot about kayaking. And we've done that a few times. And that's a whole nature, water thing, and sailing with, and just
on John's boat. Yeah.
Yep. But, well, thank you, Mr. Thomas Werbe III.
Yes.
What's the middle name? Thomas
Chandler.
That's right. Thomas Chandler Werbe III.
It's not exactly Lawrence Rockefeller.
It sounds just as good. And you were sitting right next to him. He was your buddy. You were tapping him on the shoulder to pass food.
Hey.
Yes. The thing is, I have that visual.
Hey, Larry, come on. Wake up. Pass it on. Take someone, test it along.
I hope our Agri-Tourist podcast prompts you to think more about where your food comes from, whether it be your vegetables, fruits, meats, and even those sweet treats. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with someone you think may truly benefit from or be inspired by it. Visit us at agri-tourist.com. Until next time.